I, um, uh, I don't know where to begin. I just don't know where to begin. For starters, I suppose I should make an admission of sorts. Yeah, it's me, deity. I know. There are a ton of you who shudder at the very name. But quite honestly, it was never my intent to cause so much trouble. I only ever intended on doing commentary on problematic people, dishonest people, and people who are quite frankly misusing their platforms. And that's exactly what I did in doing commentary on Edwin and to a lesser extent Mina. So before we get going and really dive on into this video, I suppose I should say I won't be showing any clips of videos or live streams that belong to Homeboy because he's proven that he completely lacks any sense of integrity or morality, and that he only abides by fair use when it comes to him and his utilization of the content created by other people. He's been doing quite a few streams lately in which he's sitting there reacting to Gabby Hanna's content, and he's only able to do so because of fair use. Every bit of the content that I created on my platform, as small as it was, fell under fair use. Every bit. Contrary to popular belief, because of, Ashley Lily's lies, it was still fair use. No matter how this girl has lied for Poppy, it was still fair use. Now, if you're wondering if my account was subsequently deleted because of Homeboy, no. I decided to pull it from the internet. I made it so that it's no longer publicly accessible, and I intend on keeping it that way until these fraudulent copyright takedown notices fall off. And they fall off shortly. So no Tippy, no Nikki D, no Baby Augie. I am not currently ban evading. This is like my second channel, I guess technically third, because I created a throwaway channel once a long time ago on which I uploaded the New Year's Eve stream that took place between myself and Vincent Nicotra. However, I haven't logged into that channel since uploading that video there. So I don't really technically consider that to be my second channel. I guess on a technicality, I currently have 3 channels, but that number still pales in comparison to the sheer volume of channels that Homeboy has created during the time he has spent on this I don't know, social networking website. Speaking of his plethora of channels, when you do look back on the sheer mass amount of channels that Edwin Costa, Edwin's Generation, Edwin Ramos, whatever, when you look back on the sheer amount of channels that he has had since he found YouTube, it's insanely obvious that what he was doing was throwing anything at the wall and hoping that something would stick in terms of content and he would gain a bit of notoriety. Obviously, his luck turned when the general public's opinion of Greg changed. Suddenly, the general public cared more about what these survivors of Greg had to say than they cared about what Greg had to say. And Homeboy decided to cash on in. One of the biggest problems that I had with Homeboy was the way he treated those survivors, specifically Shiloh. That's no secret, you guys are aware. However, to a lesser extent, I also had a problem with the fact that he paraded around YouTube acting as a hero for the abused or the assaulted, right? He was definitely putting on a show in his pre-recorded video content, and if you go back and watch those pre-recorded videos, it becomes blatantly obvious that he's reading from a script and that he's even acting. He's doing the facial expressions and everything, so I can only imagine that in said script, it would say, pause and roll eyes here, pause and gasp for effect here. Girl, like, it was so obvious that what Homeboy was doing was trying to combine this new serious content he was doing with his old content in which he thought, I guess, he was going to be a comedian or an actor. But it was definitely over the top and it was definitely fake. At no point in time did Homeboy ever care about any of these people that he did videos on. He only cared about the money. And I can say that with 100% certainty. And at this point, I would typically show you a clip to illustrate that fact, but I can't because of Homeboy and his blatant disregard of fair use, right? But think back to all the clips that I've shown you on my previous channel, Deity. For instance, the clip of Homeboy playing a song mocking victims of sexual assault and Bo Black's laughing and responding with, imagine the number of people who see that Edwin's Generation is live and he's probably streaming about something important about how we have to protect these women and girls, and they come on in and all they hear is, well, on the screen, capital letters. Homeboy himself has been so quick to make a joke about something that is not funny in the least, something that is not funny at all. And because he is so quick to make those jokes, it becomes blatantly obvious that he has no way through which he can empathize with people who have been victimized in that way in their lives. And because he can't empathize with people who've been affected that way, it doesn't mean anything to him. It doesn't mean anything to him. And that is why he's able to joke about it. By the way, if you couldn't tell, this video is really going to have no rhyme or reason to it other than discussing the topic that I was discussing at the time at which I had to pull my previous channel. So initially, seeing how Homeboy involved himself with the drama that Shiloh had going on Twitter at that time. You remember about the whole GoFundMe and Sarah and the laptop thing, and Nikki D got involved, and Edwin and Nikki D became best buds, and it was a mess. But seeing how he involved himself when there was no reason for him to be involved, and seeing how he made himself a victim of Shiloh, that rubbed me the wrong way. And I had a few words for him at the time, and I stated those words, and I went about my way. Some odd amount of time went by, and there were rumblings about this Onision documentary, and I saw that he was doing live streams in which he was stating things like, no, I stand against that documentary. It's going to re-traumatize these girls, and I care about them. Well, a few more months went by, and then an image was dropped that showed Homeboy sitting there smiling like the clown he is in episode 1. And it became so apparent to me that this is a dishonest person who is manipulative and sneaky, who goes about doing his business in a very underhanded way. And there's really no telling to what extent that manipulative, sneaky, underhanded way of doing things, there's really no telling to what extent that exudes into other aspects of his online persona, right? Well, I got to looking around. Sis. And come to find out, that sneaky, dishonest, underhanded way of doing things, yeah, it's all over his online shit, just all over it. I did a 3-part video series on Homeboy in which I called out various discrepancies in his statements, various hypocrisies in the way that he handles himself versus the way he handles drama with other people. Most notably him having said to Shiloh in one of his videos, if only she could handle getting criticized as well as she handles getting praised, she'd be a lot better off. Versus the clip from his Jacqueline Glenn Cry stream in which he states, I can't handle criticism. I don't know how to do it right. And it's such a vulnerable thing. And now people are talking about me and I don't know how to do it. So I showed you those 2 clips juxtaposed to each other for obvious reasons. You know, Homeboy, in his Jacqueline Glenn Cry stream, he was asking for empathy, sympathy, patience, understanding, private conversations. And keep in mind, he had done a very public, very underhanded thing. He was asking for preferential treatment that he never extended to another person, and that's why it stuck out to me. But in the 3rd video, I illustrated to you all how he manipulated Repzilla out of accepting the offer to partake in this documentary. It wasn't enough for Homeboy to participate. He wanted to be sure that he was the only YouTuber that participated. I showed you how he was using a lesser known account, almost a sock account, honestly, to ask certain questions and to say certain things to Repzilla. And then when that wasn't good enough, when he didn't get the information he came there to get, he decided to join Repzilla's voice chat. And it was readily apparent from the terminology he used after joining Repzilla's voice chat that he had no intention for Repzilla to know that the JTOT account communicating in the live stream chat was him. Because instead of saying, I asked, he immediately states, I saw someone ask. It was a blatant, obvious instance of manipulation. And I recently expressed on my Deity account the idea that Ashley Lilly was involved with that whole ordeal as well, insofar as manipulating Repzilla, because she was trying her hardest. And at the time, neither Edwin nor Ashley Lilly mentioned anything about Edwin's potential involvement with the documentary, never mind the fact that Edwin had agreed to do the documentary as early as August, a whole month prior to this live stream with Repzilla. Now fast forward to the Jacqueline Glenn Cry stream, and at the very beginning, 39 minutes in, Ashley Lilly made the statement, I distinctly remember you on the phone with them going back and forth with the producers for months about this contract. So at the time at which the live stream with Repzilla occurred, you were absolutely clueless. But now that Homeboy is being criticized by Jacqueline Glenn, you were aware the whole time. Which is it? Those statements can't both be true. They just can't be. After covering all of that, I ended up having a conversation with Edwin, which I did read those messages out for public view on my previous Deity channel. And suffice it to say, that back and forth was filled with nothing but emotional manipulation. Anytime I would mention something that he was absolutely guilty of, something that he had provided evidence for on his own channel, his own platform, he would completely ignore it and reply with, well, what about you? Are you considering my feelings? What about my feelings? And it became very obvious that he was only intending on making similar statements to those. He had only the intention of asking me to have consideration for his feelings, which it's phenomenal. It's really phenomenal that he put such an extreme value on his feelings and emotions and his well-being when you can see and just sit back and observe how reckless he is when antagonizing and provoking other people online. He provoked Shiloh. He antagonized and provoked her. He antagonized and provoked Cyr and Dasha. And just recently, he and his friends antagonized and provoked Petty Page in the hopes that Petty Page would join him on his live stream. There was a complete disregard for the fact that Petty Page did not owe him anything, dude. A complete and total disregard. And instead of acknowledging that fact that Petty Page didn't owe him the time of day, no, he stated that she blocked him instead of coming on his channel, and therefore she's a bitch. I am not used to doing this type of video without being able to show you guys the video evidence, but at this time, enough of you have already seen these clips and these videos that, you know, you can vouch for me. I really don't know what else to do, because it's definitely a situation in which this larger YouTuber is taking advantage of YouTube's faulty filing system just to silence someone and take someone's channel from them and take someone's voice from them, because they are pointing out the truth. They're pointing out reality. Homeboy, because he stated it himself, and I believe the Petty Page live stream, that in his experience, the audience will go along with whatever it is that the YouTuber states. Right there, he was giving voice to the fact that very few people within an audience are going to take it upon themselves to fact check. They're not going to take on the task of fact checking what a content creator says. He knows that, he's cognizant of that, and he uses that to his advantage. He lies like hell. He will get up there in front of his audience and make any number of false statements and be comfortable and feel fine doing so, because this is a group of people that he's been lying to for years. And even though a very small number of people in his audience are liable to do the fact checking themselves, he knows that there's still going to be a small number of people who do. A very small number. But still, those people exist. And that is why Homeboy has taken it upon himself to file so many false strikes against my channel. He doesn't want the content up for people to fact check him. And that's a crying shame. This amounts to nothing more than a larger YouTuber whose feelings are hurt, so he's decided to take it upon himself to silence a smaller creator. That's exactly what it is. And a little more sinister than that is the added motive of removing my channel, removing my content, so it's not there for people to see, and no one will take him to task for it. No one's going to hold him accountable. If I'm not there and the content is not readily available for people to see, no one is going to mention it. No one. You know, another topic that we were covering on my channel was the fact that when you go back and you react to the various receipt videos that he created about Cyr and Dasha directly after leaving that apartment, and you watch them as a grown-up, as a mature person with experience, and you really pay attention, it becomes so obvious that he was relying on emotional sympathy baiting. He was pulling on the heartstrings of a young, inexperienced audience. We watched that one video where it's like him and Mina sitting in his room, and the wall is like a yellow background, I believe. I can't remember. But it was the very first receipt video he put out about Cyr and Dasha. We watched that on my channel, and we reacted to it. We did a very realistic reaction. That is the video that he recently chose to strike down. That was the second fraudulent copyright takedown notice he issued against my channel. I've probably said 3, but he's only issued 2. But the first one was for 2 live streams. So it gets a little convoluted in my head. You know, I'm not the brightest. But I definitely believe that if you watched that video when you were younger and you felt sympathy for Edwin and Mina, I think that you should definitely take it upon yourself to watch that video as an adult and really pay close attention. Because he does include some screenshots in that video that are supposed to be receipts, that are supposed to prove something, but they really didn't prove anything. In fact, one of the receipts was a screenshot of a text message from Cyr that he said was about Dasha, and he said, like, Cyr said Dasha's name or whatever, but Dasha's name was never in that screenshot. It was never in that text message. And then the photos that he was trying to say came from Mina and Dasha's Instagram accounts that proved that Dasha was copying Mina. None of them were similar. None of them. He was relying on his voice, the emotion in his voice, his facial expression to push the message that was Dasha was copying Mina. But they were not similar at all. And when you took the time to pause it and read the dates on each one, these were posted almost a year apart, you know, in some instances. And there were very few similarities. Like, okay, so she's wearing a coat with a fur-lined hood, and this girl's wearing a full body of fur. Like, I mean, it was phenomenal, the reachings that were being made, the reaches and the stretches that were being made in that video. It was absolutely ridiculous. And at the beginning, he makes a statement that his issue with Cyr was the fact that Cyr didn't spend time with him anymore. Then towards the middle of the video, he makes a statement that Cyr, Dasha, and Mina spent a lot of time in their room and he was alone. Well, they spent a lot of time in their room as three people who had consented to be a part of a polyamorous relationship, and you weren't in that relationship. There were personal boundaries put in place. And then, of course, Edwin, we already know because we've already seen the evidence, and too bad I can't show it to you guys here, but Edwin took it upon himself to put the moves on the extra, well, it's on the screen, in the house. And those were his words. That's how he described Mina and her presence in the house. Long story short, he completely violated the personal boundaries put in place by Cyr and Dasha, who were taking this polyamorous relationship seriously and trying to make it work. He completely violated that. He violated Cyr's trust. He began carrying on a physically intimate relationship with Mina. One of the last vlogs he uploaded in the apartment was entitled, "We're Just Friends That Kiss." And in that vlog, they start making a joke of the fact that she's in a relationship and that even though she's in that relationship with his best friend, they're kissing and being intimate. It was incredible. And then the very next vlog he uploaded was entitled, "We Were Kicked Out." Well, gee, I wonder why. Now, in reality, we know that he was asked to leave and that Cyr ended up folding, caving, and letting him stay. And then once Cyr went out of town, Homeboy chose to leave that apartment of his own volition and his own accord. After getting back in Arizona, he decided to start the victim narrative, which was, "I was kicked out." Well, even so, you did something to deserve to be kicked out of that apartment. You violated your friend's trust. And what grown man is just going to let his best friend continue to live there knowing full and dang well that he couldn't trust him? He couldn't trust him. He couldn't trust him not to violate these personal boundaries that he had put in place. We covered all of that, and it's just, it really is a shame to me that these two people have had their online reputations ruined. Cyr was very successful here on YouTube, and he's had to move to an entirely different platform because of Edwin and the lies that he told. And that's really serious. That's something you ought to think about, and you ought to go back and watch those videos for yourself. And like the one image, by the way, of Dasha and Mina that looks somewhat similar was because they were wearing the same items of clothing that had been sent to one another respectively by a clothing company that was paying them to wear those specific items of clothing and take photos in them. It was definitely a sponsorship. And I'm sorry, but, one photo that's similar in which, they're both wearing the same articles of clothing, that to me doesn't sell the idea that Dasha was copying her. It just doesn't. Homeboy is definitely a crafty liar and a crafty manipulator, though. He would build upon these real world reality truths, He would take what was true in the real world and build upon it and build upon it and build upon it and over exaggerate it to a point at which it was very much not believable, but he would then rely on sympathy baiting tactics to pull the audience in and to, well, push them on over that edge into the realm of being a believer. That's not a tactic that he abandoned after the whole Cyr and Dasha debacle. That's something he very much still does today, In fact, he lied and claimed that I had doxed him. Meanwhile, his whole name was said at the beginning of one of his first videos that he uploaded 9 years ago and was public every day for 9 years until a day or two prior to him uploading that video about me. He decided to private it so that he could claim that I had doxed him. Oh, and another aspect of the Cyr and Dasha situation is, of course, I can't put it in this video because he would take it down, but I believe a fair number of you guys have seen the proof. He edited a photo from the shoulders down of Mina and claimed that it was revenge porn, it was a crime, and this was very serious, and Dasha's committed a crime. Meanwhile, the unedited version of the photo is Mina posing completely covered. Completely covered. Nothing was visible. Nothing at all. And meanwhile, from the years of 2015 till late 2017, Mina was posting hundreds upon hundreds of full frontal nude images to her public Twitter account, which the public could access. So, I'm sorry. Under no way, shape, or form, or under any circumstances could an image in which this person is fully covered, it can't be revenge porn. It's not a crime. She has already shared hundreds of images in which she's fully nude. Freely to the public, might I add. So that wasn't something that was done innocently. That was definitely something that was done intentionally. He sat there and he edited that image so that you could not tell that she was completely covered. And then he said with his whole chest, "This is revenge porn. This is a crime." He was relying on the emotion in his voice to sell it. And it sold, baby. It definitely sold. And still, to this day, you have people asking, what about the LOL Cal post? You mean the LOL Cal posts that were made in the span of one afternoon by an angry, upset young woman who's been lied about to thousands of people online? You mean the LOL Cal post that she's taken accountability for? The LOL Cal post that she's apologized for? That she's taken full responsibility for? Those LOL Cal posts? Meanwhile, Edwin is still lying, and at the end of his video on me, he makes a statement basically hinting at the fact that he's never gonna let go of the grip he has on her throat. That's sad. That's really sad. especially considering the lies that he told about them came about simply because he wanted to cover up the wrongdoing he was guilty of, which was violating his best friend of 8 years' trust and his best friend of 8 years' relationship. But if you want to set all of that to the side somehow, there's an aspect of Edwin that definitely does need to be discussed, and that aspect of Edwin is the aspect of him that's a racist. One of the very last streams that I did was a stream in which I was being asked to atone for my cultural appropriation for having created these photos that were essentially works of art, in my opinion, despite my makeup skills being subpar, in which I wore a turban. The live stream that I did was well done, in my opinion. What I did was pull up several different articles from several different sources. I read them, and at the end of that, I gave my final thoughts on what I thought about the accusation of cultural appropriation. And, well, it was cultural appropriation. In fact, they took the screenshot of those images from a live stream I did in which I admitted to it being cultural appropriation. So it was definitely an attempt at having a gotcha moment. And then, of course, the tweet that I was responding to specifically had compared this instance to Homeboy's overt racism, right? I guess simply because I had put blue on my face in the hopes of capturing an image that would remind someone of something ethereal or spiritual or metaphysical, something from another dimension, an alien from space. Simply because I had put blue on my face, these people were lost and felt that it was somehow akin to what Edwin did, which was smear blue junk on his face and then state several times in the same video that he had put blue on his face for the intent, for the purpose of imitating an African American person. The difference there, people, is the fact that I communicated that I was definitely attempting to do something spiritual or alien or out of this world, right? And Edwin communicated that he was attempting to do blackface. That would be the difference. Another thing that's so simple but Edwin lied about was the fact that he did a live stream in which he claimed that he was absolutely unaware of the content that Shane Dawson had created in his early years on YouTube, and we all know what type of content Shane Dawson created during that time frame. Now, of course, Edwin was aware because I showed on my old channel several clips of him meeting Shane Dawson and acting in the stereotyping of the genitalia of people of color with Shane Dawson. In the video in which he did blackface, he makes a reference to Shane Dawson because that's how Shane Dawson gained his notoriety online. I've also shown on my old Deity channel that Edwin was so aware of Shane Dawson, y'all. He was tweeting Shane Dawson, endlessly wanting some type of recognition from Shane that he never got. He never got it. Like, this is a screenshot of Shane posting what Twitter thought of him when he was canceled versus what Twitter thought of him on his birthday. Edwin respond, praise Twitter for switching her mind. She love you like we love you. Shane tweeted, I am not a I can't believe I even have to say that. It literally feels like a nightmare. Edwin responds, I felt angry when I saw that viral tweet. Can't imagine how you felt. Hope you're doing all right, man. Take it easy. People are so effing eager to jump on over parties. Shane tweeted, feeling inspired, writing an old sketch with all my characters. Edwin responded, Shanae, my booty hole, please. Now, everyone knows that Shanae was one of Shane Dawson's most prevalent characters. It appeared in so many videos and it was so well known, but it was also very racist and very stereotypical and just very inappropriate altogether. And here, Edwin seems to be tweeting in support of that character. Shane Dawson tweeted, doing a Q&A with my mom, send us some questions. Edwin responds, Dear Mama, have you ever walked in on Shane playing with his pee-pee? Never mind that at this time, Edwin was definitely in his 20s. At Shane, have you had sex with a banana before? Shane Dawson tweeted, ready to have fun on YouTube again. I'm gonna make whatever I feel like and not give an F how dumb I look. Time to go crazy, wanna join me? Edwin tweeted, hells yeah, son, hump me baby one more time. Edwin tweeted, going to see hashtag Smiley, a horror movie with that Shane Dawson. If he doesn't make any black jokes, then he'll be a believable actor. He was so aware of the type of content Shane Dawson was creating, and he was such a big fan, and he just wanted to be a part of it. There was another tweet that he had made in which he was basically asking for Shane Dawson to create content that would be racist towards Mexican people, in which Edwin states, but you know, I would have to be involved for proper representation. There's even more instances of racism when it comes to Edwin and old content he was posting to the internet. Of course, by now, you guys have already seen all of the videos that I was able to pull up and find, but he had made Instagram posts that were definitely racist. Like, this is a photo of him and I presume Sende, his friend who is of Vietnamese heritage. And, well, he captioned this photo, always nice to hang with this cheeky girl. Love her. There was another photo of him and some girl, and some guy was in the background along with a llama. And Edwin states, photo bombed by a Jew and a llama. Now, the way he's saying that, he's giving this person an identity based entirely upon his perceived religion or ethnicity or whatever, and lowering him to the status of, well, being subhuman. Another photo of him and some girl, and he tags it, times. a photo of some type of Chinese food, and he says, "Oh, look at me eating some key things." Now, this is a photo of Edwin and Jamoki TV, a content creator from back in the day, and Edwin tags it, chilling with one of my main N-words at Jamoki, Thug Life, Hollywood. This photo of Edwin, D-Fizzy, and two black people, and Edwin says, "Aw, black people," in the same way that someone would say, "Aw, puppies." Just a photo of Edwin and some random guy, and it happens to be a black guy, and Edwin tags it hashtag gangster, hashtag diversity. There are so many instances of this person being a racist, so many that I didn't even cover them all in this one video, y'all. Obviously, this is not a good person, and unfortunately, this video is not going to have the impact that I would have hoped for it to have simply because I am unable to include video clips. But after reading these posts, it definitely makes it hilariously hypocritical in my mind that Ashley Lilly tried to attack Petty Page for a tweet that she had made that Ashley perceived as being racist, never mind that it wasn't racist. Speaking of, someone who apparently follows me had tweeted at Paige the screenshots of Edwin being racist in the past in different videos, and Paige had I guess retweeted them. I don't know. Well, Ashley Lilly had a problem with that, and in the live stream that Edwin and Ashley did on Paige, they made the statement that, well, hopefully Paige knows we're two different people. And then Ashley made the statement, yeah, like that's not me. We're having a conversation here. That's my friend. Well, here's the thing. Ashley Lilly and Paige are two different people. So if Ashley Lilly can take it upon herself to be critical of a tweet that Paige made that wasn't even what she was trying to make it into being, then surely Ashley Lilly could have at any point in time said anything against Edwin Costa and his racism. But she can't, because he built her platform for her. I don't know what the point of this was, guys. I just wanted you to know, obviously, this is a bad person. I'm not just saying that. He is legitimately a bad person. He has done some horrible things. And you know what? It would be different if he had matured over time and taken accountability and responsibility for having done these things. But to this day, he hasn't. He always makes inconsistent statements about, oh, I don't stand by those videos anymore. And then in one live stream, he's explaining to Nikki DiOrio about the fact that he believes it's okay that he could use this slur for Asian people and the slur for gay people. It's just not okay. I don't even really know that there was an overall point to this video. I just honestly didn't know where to start with a new channel. I really just didn't know what to talk about. And this is the topic that I was covering that almost cost me my previous channel, the Deity channel. Obviously, I believe that Edwin's generation has a lot of misplaced anger and aggression. And obviously, that's pointed at me because I have been the one that's done commentary on all of these instances of racism and dishonesties and things of that nature. But, how is the issue going to be with the one who's doing commentary, who has absolutely done content that falls under fair use, and not with the content creator who's guilty of having been racist, or the content creator that's guilty of having lied about two innocent people? I think Edwin needs to do some introspective thinking and somehow try his damnedest to get beyond the victim complex he has and just acknowledge that he's been in the wrong. The issue isn't with the person doing commentary on his wrongdoing. The issue is the fact that he has done wrong and he's never, ever taken real accountability for it. You know, accountability, that A word that his entire platform is based off of. Speaking of his platform, I've been told by so many people that they found him during his Onision coverage, and they never went back to see what he had been up to prior to that. So many people had no clue at the type of content he had been creating in the past, and that's astounding because 90% of it was still on his various channels. They just had to click oldest content. Anyway, I guess this is it. This video sucked and I'm sorry about it. Bye. Wait. Maybe, just maybe, we'll do a video similar to this on Nikki D or Boblax or Tippy or Augie. You know, it's a possibility. Bye, guys. So somehow when editing this video, I ended up with 2 minutes to spare. And, well, in watching this, you may have noticed that there were quite a few things that Edwin Costa is guilty of that, unfortunately, I had to leave out of this video in order to keep it as short as possible. One of the most recent lies was in the live stream that he and Ashley Lilly were doing. Augie was there too, by the way, on Petty Page. Augie is telling the story about how Petty Page's fans dug up these images of him when he was underage, and so immediately, Homeboy interrupts, and states, yeah, well, they're posting screenshots from videos that I did when I was 17. No, he was 19 in the video in which he was being racist to his Asian friends. He was 20 when he did blackface. And there were a few other videos that he did in which he did racist things, and he was 20 years old in those videos as well. In the Instagram post that I showed in this video, he was also 20 years old. So this video, like I said, there was really no structure to it, and I was kind of all over the place, but one of the main arguments that I used to hate from his friends in regards to my coverage was the idea that I was the stalker, right? Because I familiarized myself with all of the available public content to ensure that when I was doing my commentary, I had the facts right. And I 100% did. I always had the facts right. Now that that's out of the way, I guess in regards to what I would like to do with this channel is just, well, what I had initially hoped to do with the Deity channel. I would like to continue doing commentary on internet people and social media figures, but I would also love more than anything to do videos in which I discuss different aspects of spirituality and different belief systems and things of that nature. And ultimately, I don't really know what it is I'm going to end up covering on this channel. You know, I would love to be able to post a video a day, but I may have to take a few days from posting until I figure out something else to post about. We've been talking about Edwin for so long on the Deity channel in the hopes that anyone would see and anyone would care and anyone would listen that I don't even know what else is going on in the world insofar as drama and influencers and things like that. Anyway, I think time's up. Bye, guys.